What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Axe Creation. And as we continue our journey through some of the modes, we're going to talk about the Mixolydian mode. All right, so sweet little Mixolydian riff right there. So talking about Mixolydian, I didn't want to go too much into, say, the blues context, where you have the 12-bar blues and everything is dominant chords, or even a jazz context over like 2-5-1 progressions, because when you talk about the Mixolydian scales in those contexts, or play, at least for me, because it's not my forte, I have a hard time not mixing in everything else that you mix in those situations or contexts. You know, when you're playing, say you're a blues, you're mixing in thirds and chromatic passing tones and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't want to talk about that in this context, right? So obviously, when we talk about Mixolydian here, it's more in like a rock sense, right? Something you hear like Joe Satriani play, right? Or at least that's what I hear in my head, right? And you can solo over Mixolydian over all of this. All right, so that's what I wanted to kind of convey here and the way to talk about it. So the other two lessons that we discussed was the major mode and Lydian. And we talked about scale formulas and what they consist of, right, and the intervals. So when we talk about Mixolydian, if we can relate it to the major, it's the same thing, except that seventh note, the one before the root of the scale, is a whole step rather than a half step, okay? So if I play right there, have a nice whole step, whereas the major scale, you have a half step right there. Okay, so as long as you are comfortable with that distinction, this will make a lot of sense. And the chord that we get, as we've talked about in the other two lessons, that modes are really just chords, the chord that we get, excuse me, is a major chord with that minor seventh or a flat seven. That's what that means when you see that. The whole step, it creates a dominant chord, all right? And really, it's just a major chord with some extra tension. You get, right? And you get that major chord, that tension. And what that does is that puts a tritone, that lovely shape and sound, within that chord, which is why it creates tension. Okay, so when you talk about Mixolydian in relation to, say, the one of the key that it's from, because Mixolydian is the 5 chord, or the scale off the 5th degree, is every one of those notes is right above every one of the notes of the first chord. So those notes, you play the one chord, it steps up, creates tension, and then resolves back. And that's the overall function of the dominant chord. All right. So as far as scale patterns are concerned, what we can do is, you can see what I'm playing here, it's just all major intervals except that seventh. And then you have a minor 7. Hopefully that makes sense when we talk about this kind of stuff. Okay, so in the tabs, you'll see the scale patterns for Mixolydian. I'll put in some arpeggios. And again, the purpose of these modal lessons is just to introduce you to modes as chords. Right? When you use a certain chord, you get a certain sound. And every mode, there's a mode for every chord that we play. So as far as the riff that I played, it's just a little, throw something together to have a little fun. I didn't do that in the other two lessons because I wanted to just really talk about the scale function. So what I like about the Mixolydian scale, or at least trying to accent, really bring out that sound, is the 2 half steps, or the... It sounds really nice, right? We can play, say, a pentatonic, a minor pentatonic, and play a major third. And you get a really nice open pentatonic sound, but you still have the overall function of the Mixolydian. And the riff I made, I was trying to do that. So we're in E Mixolydian, right? Get a nice rock tone. And I'm just hammering on E, octave on the A string. And right there, I'm grabbing the third of the chord, right? And right there, I'm kind of playing with those half steps. Right, and that note B is actually the fifth of E, so you get that nice resolution within it. Right, it's within the riff. And then so that's what I was trying to do with that riff. Bring out the Mixolydian sound, emphasize those half steps, because they sound really cool. Fun little sound when they make great bends, they make great pivot points in the scale, or target areas of the scale outside of just, say, chordal tones. All right, so that's what I want to talk about with the Mixolydian scale. Hopefully you guys dig what's going on. The link for the tabs is down in the description below. And as always, let me know what you come up with. So until then, I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.